Welcome to the Cybersecurity and Cloud Podcast, the podcast where we learn from cybersecurity experts how to stay safe, private, and secure on the cloud and in code. CSCP is hosted by Francesco Cipollone, your cybersecurity friend with a passion for all things cyber and sharing stories of other professionals with you. This episode is sponsored by AppSec Phoenix, the next generation application security platform, enabling organizations to run application security programs in a smart way. Visit www.appsecphoenix.com to learn more.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Cybersecurity Mentoring Podcast. We have Kevin Findler on the call. Finally, we have been planning this for quite a while. Kevin, do you want to give an introduction about yourself? How did you start and how did you come across us, or actually how I came across you?
So I'm Kevin Fielder. I'm CISO for Just Eat. I'm on this because Francesco has hounded me for months to get me on the podcast. But yeah, no, it seems like an interesting thing. He's had some good people on here previously, so I thought it'd be interesting to have a chat, talk about security and stuff. So yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you for taking the time. I know how busy between conference, commuting, your CrossFit activities, your dieting activity you are. So I really appreciate the time. And I'm Francesco Cipollone, so I'm heading up the NSC 42 and the Cloud Security Alliance for UK and Ireland, and also host of the Cyber Mentoring Monday podcast. We have a mentoring community, so this is a little bit of a hybrid podcast where people ask questions during the call or after the call. So we tend to talk about topics and then crack on giving people that airtime that they most require if they don't have a specific mentor. So it's a little bit of a hybrid podcast, and I hope you enjoy, Kevin. So how did you start in cyber?
So I've done kind of tech stuff and geeky things for a lot longer than I care to admit to. And I guess I always had a bit of an interest in security. So back in the day when I was kind of doing infrastructure work and other stuff, I always kind of gravitated towards security-ish things. So whether that was building firewalls or testing AV or whatever else, building kind of little Linux boxes to put IDS on and that kind of thing. Or always did security-ish stuff, a bit more infrastructure-y because that was my original background. And then when I was working at GE Capital, we had a virus outbreak, and with some monkeying around with kind of registry changes and some other bits and bobs, I managed to fix it before the vendor at the time got a fix out. And that coincided with a security... Yeah, it's pretty good. And that coincided with a new security manager starting in our bit of the world, who was building obviously needed to build a team. And he was just like, hey, do you want a job? I was like, yes. So that kind of got me my first security role, bounced around a few different roles kind of. Yeah, it was funny. It's one of those ones where I got offered the job and then we had to do kind of an HR interview after I'd already had the job offer. So yeah, that was fun.
FYI, I already got the job.
Basically, yeah. And then so we did that, and then I did some security analyst roles, did a bit of light pen testing within that role and some other bits and just general security stuff. Then from there, did some security architecture, did some actual normal architecture. So I had a little team of solution architects at one point, on the basis that most of what happens or a lot of what goes wrong in security is because we don't design it in to start with. So I was like, hey, if I go and do some architecture, I can help design secure systems as part of that. So trying to fix it from that end. And then
absolutely agree.
Yeah, and then did a few years at WorldPay doing a variety of roles, which kind of accumulated in me, building what we called the cybersecurity consulting team. So that was kind of internal consulting, doing everything from kind of inception through to stuff going into production, AppSec, threat modeling, infrastructure design, sort of basically everything across all work in prior to it going live. And also kicked off a bit of work there around kind of security innovations and how we could make security kind of part of the business proposition. That got me to the lofty head of title. That then enabled me to take a jump at the CISO role. So I'll always be grateful to Just Eat for giving me that chance, because it's much harder to get the title than to move around once you've got it. They took a chance on me, jumped in here, spent the last just over 2.5 years here. It's been super exciting because we've got to build the whole team strategy, and pretty much everything that we have now is stuff that the team's built with me. And yeah, it's a really fun, exciting place to be. And I've got to kind of do, I think pretty kind of leading edge security in many ways, because we're DevOps, we're cloud native, we're all the kind of like fairly leading edge technology stuff.
Yeah.
And there isn't a blueprint for what we do. So it's not like you can go and follow a standard that says do X, Y, Z. not traditional security. We have to be much faster, much more enabling, much more kind of embedded with engineers and things than people have been in the past. So it's been a really great ride doing that. Continue to try and improve things now. So yeah, that's a brief history of Kev's career.
Amazing history. So you more or less touch point on the various areas of cyber, or the various areas of an enterprise, if you want, before landing to the top of the food chain for cyber. If you can choose one of the roles that you enjoy the most, which one will it be? Or area that you enjoy fiddling around or playing around? Which one will it be?
I genuinely think my current role. So kind of my first 10, 15 years of my career, I kind of drifted around doing stuff, as I say, gravitated towards security things, but not kind of, I wasn't one of those people that was hugely driven with here's my career goals. Just got by with being kind of inquisitive and reasonably intelligent, I guess. But then, the last sort of 5-8 years or so, I've kind of got much more focused on my career, and I've discovered I really love kind of helping people. So not just kind of, obviously being the CISO means we get to build the team and kind of set that whole security strategy and the whole piece, which is really cool. But I also get to kind of help support a team of people and help them in their careers. So I think what I'm doing now is probably the thing I'm enjoying the most. It's a bit of an always on role, and I think it's one of those things where people talk about burnout and stuff, but I love it, and just I love doing what I do. I love being able to help secure an organization. I love the fact that we get to make security different to kind of traditional security, moving away from whether it's compliance or audit or whatever else, to actually delivering really kind of business embedded sort of security at the speed of business, for want of a better buzz term. And like I say, I've managed to employ some really cool people that are helping me do that and helping deliver an awesome program, but also helping their careers. So I've had some real successes with people's careers and getting them a lot further forward than they thought they'd be. So I think what I'm doing now is probably what I enjoy the most. And surprisingly, the people aspect of it is becoming more and more important to me, as well as the kind of technical and security stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's great. And thank you for, I know you and Greg are taking an active role on pushing the boundaries on hiring, on making people passionate, on supporting people. And I really appreciate that, because that's one of my personal pet peeve and commitment to actually give as much back, supporting people and trying to help them through a career path that is such challenging. Because I don't know if how do you recruit, for example, on cyber? What are the aspects that fundamentally I know that you're quite leading edge on that.
Yeah, so for me, it's especially the kind of junior mid end of the spectrum, it's much more about fit, culture, keenness, excitement than it is about have you got bits of paper and things. I don't think we do anymore. And I certainly wouldn't, if I spot them, I wouldn't let us have anything like, we don't must have certain certs or must have degrees or any of those things on there. It's just about, does someone want to come in and do some really awesome work for us? We've had huge success. I've got an apprentice on the team who a few weeks before joining us was stacking shelves in Sainsbury's, and within, I can't remember, 6 months to a year, but within 6 months to a year was on call for the ops team, doing actual, real SecOps work and investigating things for us and everything else. So, and he's to this day a great member of the team. So it's look for fit, look for kind of people who are super keen and excited that are going to help your team, and don't get too hung up on kind of huge list of skills, and minimize that. Because in reality, for most roles, right, what do you actually, do you need that huge list of things really? Do you want to put off huge swathes of the population by going, here's a massive job spec that's super dull and people won't apply unless they've got some or all of that list? Obviously, for some roles, we have to have a portion of senior people in the team as well, and obviously they do have to have a set of skills and abilities, because they'll be helping mentor and teach the more junior members of the team. So it's not like you can do that for everyone. But I really get upset by people who hide behind, I can't hire junior people, or I can't do this. It's your team, you can. The reality is, what the board and what the exec, whatever else, are interested in from any team, not just security, right? You make some promises and you agree on budget and things like that to deliver those promises, right? So if I agree with them that I need X money to do it, and this is what the team should look like, and this is what I will give you, and they agree that's what they want, they will let me deliver that, and they'll let me do that. If you're going, oh no, they won't let me do this, that's not true. You can absolutely build the team you want, and you explain to people, this is why we're building this team, and this is what we're going to deliver for you, and then you go do it. So it's just, don't hide behind, I must have senior people, or my board won't let me, or my exec won't let me. That's not an excuse anymore. And it also helps you, because if you have a team, every team has a bit of a pyramid shape, right? No matter how big your team is, there's going to be a limit to how many people you can have that are principals or heads of, or lead engineers, whatever your titles are in your organization. right? And there's going to be, you can't have every single person in your team as some kind of super principal engineer. And it doesn't exist, and your teams just don't look like that, right? So if you want to build a team where you've got kind of a talent pipeline, where you've got people who are going to grow into roles, have some more junior people. They come in, they're super excited, they're keen. You can kind of help train them in how you think things should be done, but also they'll give you a fresh viewpoint, because as you mentioned, Greg, he often mentions that they haven't been indoctrinated into security. So if you have someone who comes in with a fresh view or from a different bit of the organization or different career externally, they're going to have different ways of looking at things and different views to this is how security is done, in inverted commas. So I think that I can't sort of say how important, I can't overstress how important it is to do that. And like I say, if you have someone who comes in and you've helped build their career, they'll probably stay with you a bit longer. They may, the ones that start with you as a junior and could become a senior or principal or whatever with you, they know your org inside out. So then you've got a senior person who actually has loads of organizational experience with you, rather than bringing a senior who has no organizational experience. So for me,
it's a really interesting topic. Yeah, no, that's I think you hit the nail on. A lot of enterprise or a lot of organization having that business culture helps a lot with security.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's building a talent pipeline. It's getting awesome people in. It's giving people a chance, and you'll end up with a way better team. So I can't overstress the importance of that.
This episode is brought to you by the generosity of AppSec Phoenix Ltd. AppSec helps startups and enterprises solve complex software security problems by using smart data aggregation and complex machine learning software. Discover how AppSec Phoenix helps CISO and developers remove friction and maximize the use of DevSecOps professionals at www.appsecphoenix.com. AppSec Phoenix is the new and smart dev-first way to manage your software vulnerability. Follow the tag #AppSecSmart.
But how do you balance, for example, a junior and a senior? How do you keep that balance? Where have you found that sweet spot that it helps you or enable you to deliver at the pace that business asks, but at the same time it doesn't cost a tons of money, or it create that nice imbalance that you just mentioned?
It depends on the team and what they're trying to deliver, to be honest. I mean, take our SecOps team. We have 9 people and a manager currently, 10 including now. We've got a grad in rotation as well. And we've got 3 seniors and the rest are kind of junior mids. I mean, it also varies, right? What's a senior? So, in just we have a kind of a career ladder that goes from 50 to 60. No idea why it goes from 50 to 60, but hey. So like 50 would be an associate, kind of straight out of university / just finished an apprentice scheme kind of person, up to 60 being top end of principal engineer, head of type person, right? But senior is kind of, I think, 54 to 57, something. So there's within senior, there's quite a chunk. So there's, and across any organization, there's a lot of breadth of or depth of what does a senior mean? And is it someone who's super skilled at one thing, or somebody who's quite skilled at a broad range, but just brings good experience? So it's, there's not kind of one definition of senior or one thing that is a senior or junior mid, and you'll be a good junior mid person that's knocking on kind of being promoted to a senior in the near future, etc. So I mean, it's pretty broad, but so certainly in the ops world we go for kind of, it's roughly 2 or 3 junior mids to 1 senior approximately. Okay. But that will vary depending on the size. If you've got a bigger team, it may be that portion can be more junior mids to seniors. It's just because we have our teams has 3 primary locations, so we've, as if bit by luck, but kind of by planning, we have a senior in each location. So when people are on site or with the person they're local to, they have someone senior to look up to and mentor them locally, as well as kind of doing it remotely. So we've kind of tried to have 1 senior in each location. So that's driven part of the 3 to the ratio of having 3 seniors in that world.
That's nice. And you saw that it really helps, or have you tried like full junior team, or see how they behave? I try to experiment of late with full graduate or full junior team and see if they manage to coordinate between themselves with like minor guidance, and had like a mixed bag. But have you ever tried that kind of?
No, never done that. Partly because obviously it's as we've grown the team, we've kind of designed it how we want to. Nice. And I think obviously because you've got, and that comes back to my point, that the team's grown because we've explained what we're going to deliver, and we've got approval for a certain size of organization and everything else. And this is the organization we've designed to a pretty strong extent. I think certainly within security, probably, it depends on the team. or what they're doing. But again, certainly, I guess maybe where you have instance and those kind of things, you're not going to want purely junior people, because you're going to need people who've had some experience of incident management and incident response. And some of those things, it's not necessarily, hey, I'm a super expert at this tech, but it's, hey, I'm going to keep a clear head and I know who to talk to and I know when to escalate. And some of those kind of things that you just get with a bit of experience.
Professional experience, yeah.
Yeah. So I think you wouldn't necessarily want, again, it, like I said, depends on the role. If you're, say, doing a bunch of things, like a lot of teams start off in kind of the end user computing world, for example. So you may have a lot of junior people in that space because that's how they get their start into tech generally. But I'd want some level head might be the wrong word, but some experience and balance. So when there is an incident, if I'm not on the call,
they don't panic.
There's someone there just keeping things calm and working through methodically. So because I've been here before, I've done this, I've dealt with this. It's just that little slightly calm head, an experienced head, I guess.
There you said it comes with experience. I think where I toyed around, it was like pure experimenting or pure engineering, where it's not mission critical, or as you said, it's not business impacting, when you can have like more of a hackathon kind of feeling.
Yes, absolutely.
Or something. And then moving on, from a manager perspective and from keeping close to tech, or from how do you balance your discussion with the business versus being close to the technology? How do you find that sweet spot that enabled you to talk to technical team or to keep on communicating with your team and at the same time talking to the board and not killing them with buzzwords or leave them completely confused? What the heck are you talking about?
Yes, I think
I had that a couple of times.
I think that's one of the things that makes this role interesting, right? Which is the fact you have to have that balance. So it's not a purely technical role and it's not a purely business role. It's a role where you blend the two. And I like that. I come from a technical background. I enjoy playing with toys like the rest of us, and learning new things and investigating stuff. I was having a conversation about running TVs through Raspberry Pis and stuff yesterday. So, I still like have a vague set of geek credentials. And I think you have to, in the CISO role, it's good to have some of that, because you will be talking to engineers and you have engineers working for you. So, probably 2/3, 3/4 of our team are engineers, because we're kind of a tech company. So obviously I need to have their respect. I need to, you need to know enough that you trust them. I kind of say to my team, probably anyone who's, now, especially now I'm more and more hands off, probably anyone in my team that's a mid engineer up is going to be better than me at their specialism. And they probably should be, because that's their job, right? That's what they do every day. And I have a sort of in veneer across all of that. But equally, I also have to be able to go and do the, talking to exec, talking to board, talking to, people who lead our marketing teams, whatever else, about why things are important, and trying to do my best to translate it into kind of business language, what the business benefit is, what the business risk is. So it's a lot of those kind of risk language discussions that we have. So I think it's a balance of both. I don't know if I've got the sweet spot perfectly. I try my best. And I think
nobody has. We're learning. It's constantly adjusting the dial.
There isn't a blueprint for this, right? Different organizations require different types of CISOs, and if you're in a bank where you've got, CISOs reporting to CISOs reporting to, and you've got a huge chain of command, the CISO at the top probably doesn't have to have anywhere near the same technical chops today. They're not saying they don't have it, but they probably don't need it as much, because they're going to be so much more kind of BSO, for want of a better word, whatever it is, much more businessy and much more, because they've got so many people working for them. Whereas in a smaller organization or a tech organization, you're going to have more of a tech balance as well as the business stuff,
and closer to the ground.
Yeah, and it is, and I think it's critical of both. I think if you have a CISO who cares more about the tech, or you're doing tech exams or tech kind of, can you go and harden a machine or whatever kind of tech stuff for hiring a CISO, I wouldn't be interested, because you're so far wrong in terms of what's important. Anyone heading up any team, what they have to have first is a care for their team and a care for building a team, because my team isn't me. Fundamentally, most of the role of someone who leads a team is to get stuff out the way of their team, so their excellent team can do great work, right? So me being too tech focused would do no one any favors, because I'd be meddling too much rather than trusting my team. So it's, you need to also, one of the things I guess I've learned over the last couple of years is actually that stepping back slightly. So I love to meddle, and when I first joined Just Eat, there's probably a year or so where it was the Kev show, because we're a small team that was growing, and it's cool. Hey, everything I said is a great idea and we should be doing it. And, and obviously everything I say is a great idea, but No, but seriously,
that's why we invited you to the podcast.
but seriously, the reality is, right? When you first start and you're building things from scratch, it's fairly obvious what you should be doing. But fundamentally, that's the whole point of a team: is you get better people than you at what they do, right? So there's no point in me sticking my oar into Stu's world about these are your priorities in cloud and infrastructure, because he's better than me at that. That's his job. He's a principal engineer in cloud and infrastructure. He's got a small team of people working for him whose sole focus is how do we manage our cloud environments? How do we get consistent security across our cloud environments? How do we monitor endpoints? That's their jobs, right? So me telling them, I'll discuss with them and agree with them, but I'm trying to promote a culture where they come to me and they're like, Kev, these are our priorities. These are our biggest risks in this space, and this is what we're doing about them. And I champion that because they're better than I am at what they do. And that's what I think one of the things about, I guess, managing or leading a team is being a bit more humble about stuff in terms of you should be hiring people that are much better than you. You shouldn't be scared of that because you'll get a much better outcome because they're doing awesome work. So I think it's I'm kind of rambling a bit, but I guess it's that balance of tech and people and business.
I like that rambling. I think it goes and hit the sweet spot of actually being humble enough to take yourself back. And coming from a tech background, I find it myself that sometimes you want to jump the gun because you want to drive the direction, but nudging towards the direction when you want people to be and to go and to ultimately accomplish things is really, really challenging. So if I can ask, what is a good story and a bad story when you, for example, jump on top of a situation or you try to influence by acting directly, or where you actually say, well, I'm going to just nudge and, I have people reach where I want them to be rather than, telling them how.
So I guess it's a really simple, really simple example. I think what brought it home to me a year or so ago was obviously when the team was smaller when I joined, there was about 5 or 6 people and kind of no real direction. And so as we grew, I kind of knew what everyone was doing all of the time, because for probably the first year or so, pretty much everyone reported to me, because we didn't have enough people to build out the structure and have my ops team and my cloud team and my AppSec team and the kind of different functions and the culture and compliance area. So I didn't have that. I had that in mind, and we were growing towards that. So I kind of knew where everyone was and what they're doing kind of all of the time. And then now I've built out a kind of little leadership team. We try to kind of keep a team calendar, so when someone's working from home or if they're off at the doctors or whatever else. We try and kind of keep a awareness of where people are, especially if they're not going to be available. But it's not kind of, hey, you have to be in the office. It's just let us know what's going on. So we, if someone says, where's Jim, I can go, oh, he's at the doctor's or whatever. So we can easily we just know where people are, when to expect comms from them, that kind of thing. And one of the team, a guy called Manos, he's sadly moved on now, but to another company, not to dead or anything. He wasn't in, and he was usually really good at keeping his calendar up to date. And I was like, oh, where's Manos? I was like, and he worked for Stu, so I was like, hey Stu, where's Manos? And pretty much before he replied, I pulled myself back and says, actually, ignore me. If you know where he is and you're happy he's doing the right stuff, I don't need to be meddling in where your team is, right? So it's a really simple example, but that for me was a real kind of moment of clarity of step back, Kev. If your teams are all delivering really well and Stu's team is delivering everything you need it to be, and they're all doing great work and they're all engaged and working with the other bits of my team and everything else, whether someone's working,
it's his realm.
Yeah, it's his realm, right? And if it was constantly an issue and I never knew where anyone was, I might say, hey, can you guys get a bit better at this? But I was like, I don't need to know. Stu's like, hey, I'm good with this. It's all going well. He's doing what I need to be doing. So why am I meddling in what is Stu's team? So it's a super small example, but for some reason that was that moment of clarity that kind of gave me you've got really good people working for you. Why am I meddling?
Yeah, no, it's a great example. I think it hit the sweet spot of stepping back. I just realized, because I think we all jump in front of the gun and being humble enough to say, okay, your thing, you deal with it, and stepping back, I think is really important. And we're all gonna learn by mistakes, or hopefully not big mistakes.
Yeah, and I think it's really good that a lot of times you can, if you're a little bit cognizant of your environment and kind of what you should be doing, you can learn from small things without having to have a big thing. So I don't, you little things like that where I can realize, hey, I don't need to meddle in this, or I don't need to meddle in that, help me pull back and let my teams do awesome work, without me getting to the point where I've had someone complain to me that they're not allowed enough space to do their job, or even worse, have one of my kind of leaders leave because they're not allowed enough autonomy or whatever. So yeah, so it's I think listen to yourself and be kind of cognizant of what's going around you, so you can learn from small mistakes or small things rather than have to have an issue.
Yeah, tackle the small fire without them to burn you completely. Yeah. And talking about small changes, so going a little bit back on the techie side, so how important is for Just Eat and for yourself the DevSecOps or DevOps stuff? How was your journey in application security versus traditional infrastructure, traditional security?
So we're cloud native DevOps, 50 to 100 releases a day or so. So we're all in with that way. We're all in with that way of working. I know some people do it faster, but we're pretty good. We have a very empowered organization. Our engineers, they get, if you own a product, you'll get called to fix it if it goes wrong, whatever else. So we have that whole kind of DevOps agile culture pretty embedded into what we do. And my whole team runs as an agile team, so we deliver all of our security work in sprints. And we work to make sure everything we do that engages with engineering and wherever else kind of works at the speed it needs to. So so it's a kind of, it's no use using use code scanning example, right? You do a bunch of checks on code, and we tell you tomorrow there's a problem. It's been in production for a day. We have to be in. You have to be in the pipeline, and you have to be making those checks at check-in or even further. Shift left for want of a better term. But you have to be kind of making those. You have to be kind of doing those checks as quickly as possible and at the speed of where everyone else's work. So you're checking code, you're checking third-party libraries. Every time stuff gets checked in, you're looking at test environments and doing, building security tests into your QA testing as part of the testing process, not as something gets added on afterwards. But I think that what's for me the little secret of all of this, in terms of this, you mentioned this versus waterfall or other ways of working, right?
Yeah.
This way of doing security is the way everyone should be doing it, because the quicker you find problems and the more you engage, and we do threat modeling and we do secure, but we work on secure by design. We work, we go and sit in engineering guilds and architecture guilds and everything else to get stuck in, as early on as possible in any discussion about new things, new tech, whether that's how we're going to do, what we can do with our WAN, or whether we move our office firewalls to the cloud, or what we're doing with product and what we're rolling out to our customers or our restaurant partners. So kind of the whole piece we get involved in, and we try and get involved as early as possible. But imagine you're working in a traditional, what is traditional, but you're working in a waterfall environment, right? If you tell someone there's a potential security issue with their code 10 minutes after they check it in, that's awesome. If you're involved in design meetings and threat modeling and whatever else, that's awesome. So I think being a fast, agile security team is, for me, the best way to do security, regardless of what the rest of your organization is doing. If I'm working
at fast,
if I'm working at a faster cadence than everyone else in the organization, all I do is look great and I deliver more. And you can be, it's probably an overused phrase, but you can be, an agent of change effectively. If you're an organization that's a bit slow and a bit process heavy and whatever else, you can engage with those things and you can give the right information to toll gates, but you can also do much more, and you can do it much faster. And then you can demonstrate that and try and push out that more engaged, more collaborative, faster way of working to the rest of your org. You may or may not win, but you can help make things better, I think.
I agree, and speed and fast feedback is the key for DevOps or any security team that works in engineering or close to the engineering. But if you're looking at, for example, more traditional environment that need to start that journey, what will be, if anything, the one advice to look out for, or one thing to do and one thing to look out for if you start a journey towards DevSecOps, for example?
So it depends. If you're leading it from a security perspective rather than the rest of the organization, engage more. So stop being the security team that isn't as engaged, and just go and turn up to things. Be helpful. Most people in security, especially, have done other stuff, right? We've all got good experience with, like I've come from a pretty strong infrastructure background. My AppSec engineers were all ex-developers. So get stuck in with things. If you can help with more than just security. So stop being just a security team. If you can see something that could be done better, that will make it more reliable or faster or easier to deploy, whatever else, go and be a helpful team that engages with your business and engages with being helpful across a range of things, so that when people have interactions with you, like, hey, it was great doing that work with that team. Jane from security really helped us with this problem, or whatever it is. You can do really good work to get that that kind of cultural thing that security is a helpful team, and get embedded as early as you can. So if you are in a traditional org, try and get involved in the project kickoff meetings and the project planning meetings, and sit down with the PMs and the PMO on how you can be more engaged in that process. But do it as a how can we be more engaged, not as a security says no or there must be a toll gate. Forget all of that. Just work on that engagement, because you get so much more. As soon as you make something mandatory or a toll gate, you become a pain. If you do it right and get design in early and get all your checks in early and everything else, you'll probably fix a lot of the problems without being that toll gate pain person. In terms of what to watch out for, as you get better at stuff, again, if we're talking about AppSec or design, scanning, whether it's scanning builds or scanning code or whatever else, be realistic about what you can achieve on day one. So anyone can point. It's not difficult to point a tool at your code repository and go, blam, there's every single finding from a CVS 5 upwards have 10,000 results, and engineers go, oh, can't do it,
fix everything.
so they'll push back. So I mean, as an example, when we first started looking at third-party libraries, we looked at this was a while ago. When we first started doing that, we only did, and obviously with a bit of business context, 9.8s and above, just as a thing to start with. I think we found like 40 things, which was actually related to about 4 or 5 libraries that were just in use in a few places. So just be realistic about your expectations. Don't go, we'll smash everything at once. Go, okay, we might want to fix everything down to a CVS or whatever score you want to use, or, of 6 or whatever arbitrary number you come up with, but that's not going to happen on day one. So let's work on how we do an engagement that actually gets us traction, that says, hey, look, we want to manage the risk of the organization. We want to get better at securing things, but also we understand we have to deliver product and capabilities. So on this first tranche across our entire, 80 sprint teams or whatever you've got, and hundreds of engineers, we're rolling out 40 things we'd like to get fixed, not 4,000, that kind of stuff. And also be helpful and realistic with what you do. So again, using the third-party library thing, it's great. The default answer might be upgrade to latest version, which might be hugely challenging. If you're on a version that's supported but is 2 or 3 behind current, you might find it's
breaking the dependency and breaks all the dependency.
Deprecated half the stuff you rely on, right? But if you go from version 2.3 to version 2.6, you're still within main version and you're secure. So be sensible about your guidance and kind of minimize the impact you have on velocity and dev teams, so that they like working with you, but they also recognize you're managing risk.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcast and post it on social media tagging Cybersecurity Cloud Podcast for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Discover other episodes at www.cybersecuritypodcast.com.